Welcome to the Entrepreneur Insider Secrets podcast. Excited to be spending time with you again today, talking about things that are important to growing a business, keeping a business going, just being successful as an entrepreneur. And today we're going to be talking about probably one of the things that gets the most resistance of anything that I deal with. And when you talk about having your own business, we all know that if you're going to be successful, you have to make sales, right? You have to have paying clients in some way, shape, or form. You have to have people giving you money for whatever it is that you're offering. Without that, you're going to struggle. You're not going to have an ability to generate income. You're not going to have ability to pay the bills. And this is going to become more of a hobby than it is an actual business. So this is really, for everybody, the rub. And the challenge with all of that is that selling is one of those things that creates a lot of tension. It creates a lot of, I don't really want to do it because selling has a bad name. Selling has, and for good reason, let's just be honest, there's a lot of people out there who sell poorly. And they sell in ways that are just manipulative. They are selling in ways that are trying to get you to do something that's in their interests rather than in your interests. And as a result, it creates a very awkward situation. It creates that situation of, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be sitting here buying this thing or starting this thing, and the person is just trying to convince me, and I really don't, I'm in the middle where it's not a bad thing to do, but I don't know that I really want to do it. And so they try and manipulate, they try and cajole, they try and convince you, you should really do this, do it. And then you end up doing it sometimes because of whatever reason. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, why did I do this? Why did I let this person talk me into it? And those words are very important right there, because you just said, talk me into it, which is what happened. You let that person convince you. You let them talk you into doing something that you weren't necessarily excited about or wanting to do. And so you end up with regret. You end up with buyer's remorse. You end up in that position of like, phooey, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe that I stepped into this and let them convince me to take this step. So this is something that we're going to be talking about today, because when you're on the business owner side, you're the one trying to get people to buy. You're the one trying to do it. And so there's always that tension of like, I don't want to be that person who's convincing, who's manipulative. I don't want to be that person who's twisting people's arms and always trying to, force them to buy when I don't want them, when I know that they probably shouldn't. I don't want to be that, because that starts to become an integrity issue for a lot of people, right? A lot of people have an integrity issue where they're going, I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of all that. I know what it's like to be on the end where I am experiencing that as a buyer, and I don't like it. And I don't want to do that to other people. I don't want to be manipulative. I don't want to be unethical. I don't want to be out of integrity with who I am as a person. I want to be able to be proud of what I'm doing. I want to be able to do this with good in my heart, not something that I'm feeling like I'm doing things that are underhanded. And as a result, you don't want to sell. You put yourself in these positions where I don't really want to sell. I don't really want to talk about my offer. I don't want to try and go out and meet people. I don't want to try and talk to people about becoming my customer, simply because I don't want to sell. Because you've labeled selling with the negative experiences. You've labeled selling with the manipulation and the convincing side. So we're going to talk about both of those today. And we're going to talk about the two different ways of doing this. And first of all, let's talk about the negative one. Why pressure-based sell increased resistance? So we've all been there. And I actually have a recent example of this. As I was looking this over today, getting ready for the show, I'm like, wow, do I have 2 examples here in the last 3 weeks of this right here? And it's springtime here in Ohio. And when the spring comes, the door-to-door salespeople tend to, I don't know if they've been hanging out in the trees or they've been hiding in the woods or what, but boy, they start coming out, and here they are. They're all knocking on your door, and they show up going up and down the streets on their little segways, and here we go. I can't get away from them. And so I was coming home from the gym in both instances, in both examples. I was coming home from the gym. I don't know what it was that they were just had the timing right. So I pulled into the garage, and I'm walking literally out of my car behind my car, getting ready to go into the house. And all of a sudden I look up, and there he is on his little Segway smiling at me. And I'm going, oh, crud. What did I just ran right into him, didn't I? And it happened twice. And so the second time is the one where it was a very negative experience. It was a very much a convincing experience. I had literally, both of them were pest control guys. And the one that I had met 3 weeks earlier, I actually said yes to. And I'll explain to you why here in a little bit. But then the one that I had came 2 weeks later, I said no to. And it became a very awkward conversation. It became a very awkward situation because this guy came to me and said, oh, hey, you know what? I'm here with such and such pest control company. I'd like to talk to you about taking care of the pests. Are you having any issues with ants or that, because whatever, that's their pitch and that's how they get started. And I said, I want to be really honest with you. I actually did just sign with a pest control company 2 weeks ago. And so I'm not really interested. I don't need, I just signed up with them. I'm not interested in talking to you about doing that because you're 2 weeks too late. I just did it with somebody else. It's like, oh, really? Well, who'd you sign up with? And I'm like going, did you not hear me? I just signed a contract with them. I just literally started with them 2 weeks ago. I'm not a customer. I'm not looking to do this right now. This is already done. This is already taken care of. For the next 10 to 15 minutes, he's trying to convince me, well, I can buy you out of that contract and we're going to do it better and we're going to do this and that. And he's trying to convince me of the fact that I need to dump the other guy that I've been with for a grand total of 2 weeks and go with him instead. And I'm sitting here going, and I looked at him and I said, buddy, this is an issue of integrity for me. I said, this is an issue of, I literally just signed with this guy 2 weeks ago to help take care of the pests around the outside of our house. They spray for bugs. And if you have a need inside, they spray inside as well. And they'll do all this. And I said, I literally just signed with them. And I'm also an entrepreneur. I also am a business owner. And I know what it's like to have people come and go, use you and leave. And I said, I want to give them a chance. I said, it's a matter of integrity for me. It's a matter of this other guy literally just started working for me. They've done one treatment around the house. I've barely given them even the opportunity to get started to even prove themselves as to whether or not they're going to be good or bad at what they do. And I have to at least give them a chance. I'm not going to fire them, which is what I would essentially be doing 2 weeks in when I never gave them a chance. I don't, as a business owner myself, don't want to be treated that way. If a client hires me for a project, I want to be given a chance. I want to give a chance to prove that I can deliver. I want to give a chance to show that I can do the thing that I said I was going to do. I don't want to be written off before I even get started. I said, that's an integrity issue for me. Oh, I understand. I appreciate that. But what if I did this? Or what if I did that? How about if I did this? We do this and they're terrible. They don't do that. And I'm just going, buddy, stop. And it took me 10 to 15 minutes to get rid of him. He spent 10 to 15 minutes trying to convince me to fire somebody that I just hired. And I even told him, I said, you're asking me to act against my own integrity. Didn't care. Because at the end of the day, he was interested in generating a commission for himself, right? He was interested in generating income for himself. He really didn't care about me. Because you see, this is something that you have to understand is like when you're talking to a potential customer and they have an integrity issue for whatever reason it might be. For me, it was like I literally just hired somebody. I'm not that kind of person who's just going to fire people on the spot before they've even had a chance. I'm going to give this guy a chance to perform. And if he does do a poor job, if he doesn't do, if this company does not do the work well, okay, then I will look at replacing them. I'm not against firing somebody if they're performing poorly, but I'm not going to fire them before they've even had a chance. That's not how I would want to be treated as a business owner. That's not how I would want to be dealt with. And I'm not going to in turn do that to somebody else. Oh yeah, I understand. Well, what if and I'm literally just almost getting on the verge of getting angry with this guy because he's not listening. He's not hearing what I'm saying. I'm like, buddy, stop it. You're asking me to act against my own character. You're asking me to act against my own value system. I won't do it just to make you some money. And the things that he was promising me to do was basically more or less about the same as what the other guys did. And he's just bad-mouthing them, saying, well, they won't do it. They're no good. Da, 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 da. And I'm going, okay, you know what? This is trying to convince. And it's putting me in a situation where I'm feeling pressured to buy, which puts me in a position where all I want to do is say no and get rid of this person. This is where sales get a bad name. This is where sales go the wrong direction because you're no longer acting in the interest of the other person. You're acting in the interests of yourself. You're not trying to help the other person. You're not looking at their situation and saying, hey, you have a situation. You're dealing with an ant problem. I can help solve that. No, I'm telling you, I've already solved it. I've already hired somebody to deal with the ants. I don't need anything else. This is no longer about the customer. This is about you making money. And this is where it creates the tension for the customer. This is where it creates resistance because you've made the entire conversation about yourself, which is rule number one, don't do this in sales. This is what poor salespeople do. This is what unsuccessful salespeople do. They make the offer about themselves. Now, how do you shift that? How do you shift from persuasion to invitation? Excuse me. That is the key. This is where everything shifts. The difference is that when you come in, and why did the first guy, why was he successful? Well, it wasn't just that he was first. Okay. He made an offer. He came to me and said, hey, are you having any issues with ants? Well, around here, lots of people having issues with carpenter ants right now. It's springtime. The ants are coming out. We're dealing with them. They're showing up in the kitchen, in the pantry. We're like, and my wife is like, she is the word ants is a trigger word. I'll just say she does not like the word ants. When I hear, I'm like, oh no, she found an ant. Like, oh, here we go again. Like, okay, everything's going to stop. We got to go deal with the ants. Anyway, so she is very, very anti-ant. And so the first guy came along and said, "Oh yeah, a lot of people have been having that." He goes, "Here's what's really going on." He said, the company that you're currently using is only treating right around the perimeter, but he says, and then what ends up happening is this perimeter treatment only lasts for a certain period of time, and then it wears off, but you still have all the ants in the yard. And when all those ants in the yard do is they, eventually when the perimeter barrier wears off, in they come, and they're coming into the house. And he goes, we treat the entire yard so that your entire yard is clear, so that when things start to wear off, they're no longer in your yard. You're no longer dealing with ants in the yard because we've cleared the whole area out, so you won't be getting ants in the house. Now, I went, huh. And so I'm sitting over here dealing with a wife who is very anti-ant, and every time she sees an ant, it's like, we gotta clean out everything again. I'm like, oh no, we're cleaning out the entire pantry again, or we're cleaning out the like, oh crud, here we go, because we found another ant. Like, oh great. So I'm sitting here going, this is a problem for me. This is an issue that I'm having. This guy might be able to solve my problem. The other company that we had been using for years, we're clearly still having ant problems. They're clearly not solving the problem. There's clearly an issue here, and he could solve my problem. You see, so I ended up saying yes to him and switching to his company because it was something that was in my best interest. Because I'm looking at this going, huh, this guy can do something that the other company I know isn't doing. I know they didn't treat the yard. I know that was something that wasn't in the offering of what they did, because that's what we do. We create a perimeter that's so much bigger for your house so that we don't have the ants even getting close to the house, and that will solve the problem. See, he made an offer, and that invitation was then like, huh. He found the pain point. He found that I did have an issue. He found that I did have a problem that was staring me in the face. He goes, I can solve that problem for you. Now, this is no longer about him making a commission. This is about me getting rid of a pain point in my life. I'm sitting here thinking, huh, if I do this, maybe I won't have to go and clean out the pantry all the time. Or maybe I won't have to go and scrub everything down because there's another ant. So that's where my mind is going. I'm sitting here thinking, wow, I could get out of, ant cleanup patrol. I could solve this problem. I could go do other things rather than sitting there hearing the noise that I don't want to hear, which is, that's an ant. I'm like, oh no, no ants, no ants. So I'm sitting there thinking, this could be it. This could be my ticket out of this. This could be my ticket to solving the problem. And so this is how you think. This is how you are going, because now it's about me making my life better. So when you do this is really the key. This is how you flip the script, and how you can learn to sell with confidence. Okay. This is how you learn to sell with confidence, when you learn how to make it about the offer. It's about understanding your client's needs. If you want to do this, if you want to be able to sell in such a way that is low pressure and much more successful and much more effective, this is the way you do it. My son currently has a job at the local health club, and he does a lot of sales for them. He sells memberships, training, what have you, all the different things that the health club offers. He is doing it, and he actually said, Dad, right now, 23% of all new members to the club come through me. And I was like, really? Because there's quite a few people out there that can sell people on membership to the club. And I go, that's almost a quarter. Like, how are you doing it? He goes, yeah, I don't do it like everyone else. I go, okay, so what are you doing? Because I'm like going, is my son and maybe he's by osmosis, because you know how it is. the last person that wants to listen to you no matter how much you know how to teach them how to do this, the one person that's not going to listen to you is your own child. But he's like, yeah, I take them around, I show them all the features of the club, and I just start asking them questions. I start asking them, so what are you looking for? What are your goals? What do you want to achieve? What is it that you want to do? And once they tell me, like, look, this is what I'm looking to do. I want to lose weight. I want to, improve my cardiovascular fitness. I want to get stronger. I want to, I have this current health situation that I'm recovering from. I need these types of services. This is what's going on in my life. He goes, yeah, I just asked them, what's going on? How are you? Who are you? Tell me a little bit about your story. Let me hear why are you here today? What brings you in? What was interested you about joining about the club? And they start telling him, and they start, well, yeah, I'm here because I want to lose weight, or I'm here because I'm recovering from an injury and I need to rebuild strength. I'm really weak, and I know that I need to rebuild strength. I don't like where I am right now. I got to get my strength back. Okay, great. Once he hears them and he knows what it is that's a need for them, he goes, well, let me show you how we can do that for you. Because the club is a big club. It has lots of services. So he's like, rather than him just laundry listing everything that they can do for me, he goes, all right, now that I know what's important to you, now that I know what your needs are, what the problem is, what your goals are, and why you bothered to stop by in the first place, let me match you directly with this. And I'll just show you here's how we can solve your problem. And he goes, I sign up more people than anybody. And he goes, I don't do it the way they're telling us to do, which is much more the convincing model of high pressure follow up, get them mode. He goes, no, I just figure out what is it that you want. And if it's a situation where they're saying, well, this is what I want. And he goes, yeah, I don't know that this is the best place for you. I'm just going to be honest. This probably isn't what you need. And he's just honest with them. And people appreciate him. They're happy with him. They're not feeling like he's selling them. And he's incredibly successful. He's selling more than anybody. And so the same is true for you. If you want to sell with confidence, if you want to sell successfully, if you want to sell calmly without having that nervous panic attack of like, oh my goodness, I need to sell, but now I got to twist some arms. I got to make it happen. No. Sell with confidence. And you sell with confidence because, number one, you know your customer. You know what it is that they need help with. You know your customer so well that like, all right, here's the three things that my target customer is dealing with. They're either going to need this, this, or this. These are the three things, and I just need to figure out what it is that they need. And then I need to show them how my offer, what it is that I do for them, or what I can do for them, is going to absolutely meet that need. When you do that, this is so much less about selling. This is about showing how I can meet your need. I can solve your problem. I can help you achieve your goal. Here's how we do it. And have such a good offer in what it is that it's not even a hard sell. It's like, oh, you need help doing this? Well, that's what we do. That's exactly what we've built the business for. We do this, and this is how we do it. And make your offer easy to understand so that the person on the other side goes, huh, so you know exactly how to solve my problem. You know exactly what to do. You're clearly an expert in this because you've done it many times. You can help me. Like, yes. Great. How do I sign up? No pressure. No convincing, no arm twisting. You're just making an offer. But to do this, here's where the rub comes in. This is where the problem comes in a lot. Is too often people just want to get straight to the point in their business where they're making money. Understood. It's why people start businesses, right? Number one, they want to work with people in a certain field, in a certain area. Number two, they want to generate an income. Those are the two primary drivers. This is the type of work that you want to do, and you want to do it in such a way that you can earn income. Got it. Not anything unusual. It is exactly why people do this. But if you don't know your customer well enough and you don't know the specifics of what it is that they need, if you don't know the in-depth details of like, yeah, this is where my customer struggles, this is where they're having problems, and then as a result of understanding exactly what that need is and knowing that it's a big need in their life, this can't be a need that's like really low on the list of importance in their life. This has to be a pressing need. This has to be something that's important to them. This has to be something that is really bugging them, because they have to be motivated to make a change. But if they're not motivated to make a change and this problem really isn't big enough for them, they're not going to move, no matter how good your offer is. It's got to be a problem that's got a little pain associated to it, and that they're going to say, man, I got to do this. I got to get rid of this. I got to solve this problem. This is killing me. I got to make a change. I can't do it anymore. When you understand what that problem is, and then once you understand that problem really well, and you're like, how can I'm going to build my offer in such a way that I'm going to give them a solution that is so amazing that it's a no-brainer. That people are going to look at this and just go, well, why wouldn't I do this? This is exactly what I need. This is going to help me with exactly where I need help. This is going to solve I have absolute confidence. I see exactly how this works. This is exactly what I need. Done. This is how, when you learn to make that match, and when you don't have that groundwork laid, when you don't have that offer that's a perfect match to what they need, when you haven't done the prep work to make sure that you are covering all of those bases, that's when you have to start convincing people, because you don't have the match. You don't have that connection point where you're like, yep, I know exactly what you need. I understand. I've worked with people like you for a long time. I know where the pain points are. I know where the struggle is. I know where the issues are. And here's exactly how I can help you and how I can solve it. Because you didn't do the groundwork, because you didn't do the prep work, you're now trying to convince them about what you want to do. If you've done the prep work and you've made the offer perfectly in line with what the customer is looking for, it's a natural sell. But if you haven't, and the customer goes, I don't know if that's really what I wanted. Now you got to convince. Now you're pushing against the grain, and you're selling in the way that no one wants to sell. You're pressuring. You're trying to convince. You're trying to control. And that's where it gets awkward. That's the selling no one wants to do. That's the selling that no one wants to buy from. They want to buy because they think this is going to be amazing for their life. It's the old expression, no one likes to be sold, but everyone likes to buy. This is the dichotomy right here. People buy because they think it's in their own best interest. People buy because they think this is exactly what I need in my life, not because so-and-so convinced me. No, they buy because this is what I need. This is what I want. This is what my heart is telling me. Yes, you need to do this. I'm excited to buy. I'm not begrudgingly filling out the order for them. So when you can do that, you take away the resistance to selling. You take away the challenge with having to convince somebody, because you've made it obvious. You've made it a no-brainer. You've made it simple for someone to understand. They're looking at it going, yeah, this is exactly what I need. You know, when I joined the health club a few years ago, I was in a situation where I felt very weak. I could tell that I had spent a decade working so hard in my business and spending all day and all night behind a laptop that I was no longer, I'd lost a lot of physical strength. And so when I went to the club and I talked to them about potentially being a member, They showed me all the different things that I could do to get all the different programs, all the different things I could get involved in to solve that problem. And I was like, yes, this is what I need. This is exactly what I need. This is exactly where I need to be jumping into, because this is going to solve my problem. And it has. So think about that for your clients. Think about that for your situation when you're talking to people about working with them. Have you done the work? Have you understood them? Have you done the groundwork to understand them exactly what they need, exactly what they are looking for? And have you created an offer that is so easy to understand, that is so perfectly aligned with what it is that they're looking for, that is going to give them the solution that they're looking for, is going to give it to them much easier than what they would do on their own, is going to give it to them with much less pain. It's just going to give it to them much faster than what they could do on their own. If you can answer all those questions, yes, the only thing they're going to say is, how do I sign up? Because everybody can try and do it on their own, right? I can try and build a car on my own, but I'm going to be here the rest of my life. I don't know how to build a car. I don't have the experience. I don't have the tools. And I'm literally going to be here for the rest of my life figuring out. Or I can go to a car dealer who already has the car pre-made sitting on the lot. And it's done. Much, much easier. It's a no-brainer purchase to go do that than it is to attempt to do it on my own. Same thing is going to be true for your clients. When they're sitting there staring at their problem in their life, they're going, I don't know how I'm going to solve this. And then they hear you come along and say, well, I could almost solve it right here. It'll be done in no time flat. Easy peasy. They're going to go, let's go. Let's do it. This is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I need. How do I sign up? Then selling becomes fun. Then selling becomes easy, because you're not convincing or pressuring or cajoling anyone. You're simply making an invitation. Oh, you're struggling with that? I understand. Let me solve it for you. That's where selling becomes fun, because you're truly helping people. You're truly doing things for them that are making their life better. And they're excitedly handing over the money because they want what it is that you have to offer. So I hope you found this very helpful today. I hope this was insightful for you. If you need help growing your business, we would love to talk with you and see if it makes sense for us to work together. Go to designlaunchgrow.com. That's again, designlaunchgrow.com. You can read about what we do there. And if it's of interest to you, fill out an application and we'd love to have a conversation with you. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will talk to you again very soon.